The Sonos Sub Mini is here. Fans of Sonos have been asking for a more affordable subwoofer ever since the launch of their first subwoofer in 2012. The new Sonos Sub Mini is the answer to those requests, and we will go over all the details and how to think about adding it to your system in this video. If you're not familiar with Sonos, they make wireless audio products for home theater systems, music systems, and portable and outdoor applications. Their app for controlling the music aspect is one of the best, if not the best, on the market and allows you to easily combine multiple rooms to fill your entire home with great music. They're also fanatical on quality control, putting every new design through all kinds of rigorous tests, which is one of the reasons why they have the lowest failure rate of any electronic product audio device has ever sold. Now, if you're based in the UK, we want to give a shout out to our friends over at smarthomesounds who make some really incredible YouTube videos. Be sure to check out their channel, and if we were buying in the UK, we'd be buying from them for sure. So make sure you check them out at the link in the description. I feel one of Sonos' secrets has been their modular building block approach and their dedication to keeping their products viable and upgradable for as long as possible. Their latest offering, the Sonos Sub Mini, is a perfect example of the great Sonos philosophy. The Sub Mini, as the name implies, is a subwoofer that is pretty small yet can produce deep bass incredibly well for its size. The only thing you need to do is plug in a power cord, as it will connect wirelessly to your Sonos system, and mini it is. The Sonos Sub Mini is a round enclosure that is only 9 inches in diameter and 12 inches tall. It weighs about 14 pounds and is available in a matte black or a matte white finish. When you first look at the Sonos Sub Mini, you'll notice an oval-shaped slot on each side, and if you peer in closely, you'll see 2 bass drivers facing each other a few inches apart. This is called a force-canceling design, which is ideal for eliminating any cabinet resonance or vibration. The dual driver system is in a sealed cabinet with a separate amplifier for each woofer. In the world of high-performance home theaters, subwoofers are a must, and getting them to perfectly integrate with the other speakers in the system can take some technical know-how and experimentation. Sonos uses their technology to make adding the Sub Mini a snap. In those big home theaters, setting the crossover point, which is where the sub takes over the sound from the other speakers, can take some time to get just right. Well, with Sonos, the software knows what speakers you are pairing it with, and it sets the crossover for the subwoofer exactly where it should be. But one more really cool thing happens. Let's say you have a Beam and you add a Sonos Sub Mini. Once your Beam knows there is a Sub Mini in the system, Sonos uses their software to change how the Beam behaves, since it no longer needs to produce deep bass, which will improve how dialogue sounds in your Sonos Beam. In addition, there is Sonos TruePlay. Every single room has different acoustical properties that can have a dramatic effect on the final sound of that room, especially in the deep bass. Sonos TruePlay is inside the Sonos app, and with an iOS device, allows the app to listen to the audio characteristics of your room and then make adjustments to give you far better sound than without TruePlay. If you've got a Sonos soundbar or home audio components, you're probably wondering if you'll be able to add this cool new subwoofer to your system. The great news is, almost every Sonos component can benefit from the new Sub Mini. Let's look into the different options and why or why not I would recommend it as an addition. First, the pieces the Sub Mini will not work with are the 2 portable speakers, the Roam and the Move. The older Connect or Port are also not capable of working with the Sub Mini. You do need to be running the Sonos S2 version of the app to add the Sub Mini to your system. Some very old Sonos components may not be capable of upgrading to the S2, and you can check this in the app that you're running. And if you are in the market, Sonos does have a really great trade-up program. But for most anyone who has purchased a piece of Sonos in the last 10 years or so, you should be able to add the Sub Mini. Finally, unlike the Sub Gen 3, you can only add 1 Sub Mini. I hope Sonos will update the software to allow you to add 2 in the future, as we're big fans of 2 subwoofers for serious home theaters. Now, let's dig into the best pairings for these. The Sonos Beam has been one of the most popular soundbars ever made. This one is a no-brainer. If you have a Beam or Beam Gen 2, the Sub Mini is the perfect choice. It is the right amount of money to spend to add a sub to your soundbar, and you will hear big improvements. The only time we might say you would want the larger Sub Gen 3 is if you had a very large room and you like to listen to your movies at high volume levels. Otherwise, add the Sub Mini, run TruePlay, and take your movie enjoyment to the next level. The difference it makes is nothing short of huge. The Sonos Arc is their top-of-the-line Dolby Atmos soundbar. It does an amazing job of putting Atmos effects into your room. However, it does not reach deep into the bottom end. And just like with the Beam models, the improvement here is worth every penny and more. If you have a room bigger than 20 by 25 feet, you should probably get the Sub Gen 3. But otherwise, get the Sub Mini and you will be very happy. These are older models and no longer made, but at Audio Advice, these were extremely popular and Sonos sold millions of them. Both of these had pretty good bass on their own, and deciding on the Sub Mini or the more expensive Sub Gen 3 is a bit trickier. If you have had one of these for a while and just thought the bigger sub was just too large or too expensive, by all means, you should definitely add a Sub Mini. You'll get deeper bass and better dialogue. However, these were very good soundbars, and if yours is installed in a larger space, you will definitely appreciate the output capabilities of the bigger Sub Gen 3. The Ray is the entry-level soundbar from Sonos and sells for under $300. For most people, a subwoofer the price of the Sub Mini is out of line with the price of the Ray. It does improve the Ray vastly with extra bass. There are some use cases where the Ray may have been the only way to fit in a Sonos soundbar. The Ray can go inside a cabinet opening, while others need to be in the open. If you bought your Ray for that reason, more so than the price, the Sub Mini will definitely put a smile on your face, especially if you're using the Ray for listening to music as well. If you want to enhance the bass you feel in music, the Sub Mini is the way to go with any of these. If you have the entry-level Sonos One or One SL, the Sub Mini may seem out of line price-wise, but will really add that bass foundation. For any systems where you're using the speakers as a stereo pair, that means you're already into better sound and you will just love the Sub Mini and what it does for you. If you're using a single 5 series, the Sub Mini is the way to go. However, there are a lot of people who use a pair of 5 models in a stereo configuration for either great stereo imaging, the way they fill up a large space, or both. A pair of Sonos 5 speakers with the Sub Gen 3 sound fantastic. The Sub Mini will be a great match for these, but a pair of 5 models can play pretty loud and allow you to crank your music up to those levels that sound closer to a concert. If that is how you like to listen to them, we definitely recommend you go with the Sub Gen 3 instead. Many people use these amps to drive in-ceiling or in-room speakers in whole house audio applications. For most people, while adding a Sub Gen 3 would greatly improve the bass for that room, it may just be physically too large. The new Sub Mini will enable you to enhance the bass and then tuck it away. You will need to manually set up the crossover point for your Sub Mini in the Sonos app, but our tech team can help you if you're not sure of the best position to put it in. There also may be some bonding Wi-Fi issues you might run into. Again, if you purchase your Sonos Sub Mini from Audio Advice, we are here to help. We tested the Sub Mini compared to the Sub Gen 3 in a system with the Beam Gen 2 and with a pair of 5s to see what differences we heard. First of all, I cannot stress enough how big of an improvement it makes to the Beam. The Beam series is good, but does not have much in the way of deep bass. The Sub Mini made the system sound completely different. Explosions and special effects sounded the way they should, and my gosh, music with the Sub Mini sounded more like you would expect it to sound from a decent pair of speakers. The same thing, although not to as big of a degree, happened with the pair of 5s. A pair of Sonos 5s already reached down pretty deep in the deep bass, but adding the Sub Mini extended things down even deeper, and we also felt it improved the vocal sounds by taking the bass demands away from the main speakers. When we swapped in the Sub Gen 3, we heard the most difference on our music comparisons, and when we really tried to have the volume level high on explosive action scenes. You just feel more bass impact with the Sub Gen 3. It has a richer and fuller sound to the bass tones during music and had no sense of strain at all when we cranked up the volume. So the question a lot of people are going to ask is the difference worth it? I think that will depend on your system, your ears, and your budget. If you want the best sound possible and have some of the higher end Sonos components, the Sub Gen 3 continues to be a very impressive and capable subwoofer. But for what the Sub Mini costs, anyone with all but the most basic Sonos system should definitely add one. I hope this overview has helped you understand how a Sonos Sub Mini might fit into your Sonos system. If you have any questions at all, please reach out to us via phone, chat, email, or visit one of our stores. And if you liked this video, be sure to give it a like, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our latest content. We'll see you next time.